Auzubillahiminasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Muhammad Jazan Shah bin Johar. I am from class 80220 and today I'm going to talk about my article, which is the Malaysia financial crisis, economic impact and recovery prospect. Okay. For the introduction, the Malaysian financial crisis, impact and recovery prospect delve into Malaysia's economic downturn, analyzing its causes, effects and a recovery effort. Authored by Muhammad Arif and Sharissa Yanti Abu Bakar, the document highlight Malaysia pre-crisis economic success, revealing vulnerabilities that emerged during the crisis. It emphasized the necessity of addressing both immediate symptoms and underlying weakness through significant economic reform for sustainable recovery. Key themes include governance, policy response, and the need of coherence in economic policies. The document explores challenges such as poor private sector, governance and policy uncertainties, offering insight into Malaysia crisis management strategies. Overall, it provides valuable insights into economic crisis, governance and the importance of reforms of Malaysia long-term growth and stability. Okay, then we move up to the first bullet point, which is issue. Okay, for the first issue, governance practices. The document highlight the importance of governance practices in the context of the financial crisis. Efforts were being made to improve corporate governance in Malaysia, but there were instances of backsliding, such as the use of public funds to support the stock market and rescue privatized public enterprise. Okay, next, the second one is policy response. The Malaysian government implemented various policy response to address the crisis, including fiscal and monetary adjustment. There was recognition that coherent policies needed to be implemented to prevent the crisis from deepening. Okay, and the third one is need for economic reforms. The document emphasized the importance of addressing the root causes of the crisis through major economic reforms, while policy response helped counter the symptoms of the crisis. Sustainable recovery required addressing underlying weakness. Okay, for the third one is foreign direct investment. The document mentions that emergency measures and domestic resources alone were not sufficient to lift the Malaysian economy back to its original growth trajectory. Further efforts towards liberalization and gradual foreign direct investment were recommended. These points reflect the challenges faced by Malaysia during financial crisis and the importance of governance, policy response, economic reforms and foreign investment in the recovery process. Okay, next we move up to the factors. Okay, first factors is poor private sector governance. The document points out that poor governance practices in the private sector, such as using short-term borrowings for long-term investment and making decisions based on non-commercial consideration, were a significant factor contributing to the crisis. Okay, for the example of poor private sector governance included a preference for debt financing over equity financing and the reliance on non-commercial factors in lending, borrowing and investment decision. Okay, for the second point is policy concerns and uncertainties. Okay, the lack of coherence and consistency in policy making was identified as a factor that could lead to investor attaching a discount to Malaysia due to policy concerns and uncertainties. Maintaining a measure of coherence and consistency in policy making was deemed crucial to sustaining investor confidence and promoting economic stability post-crisis. Okay, for the last one point is needed for economic reforms. The document emphasized the necessity of major economic reforms to address the root causes of the crisis and pave the way for sustainable recovery. Reforms in areas such as ownership rules, investment liberalization, banking sector regulation, and corporate governance were deemed essential. Okay, economic reform were expected to bring about positive outcome for growth by enhancing supply side efficiency, expanding financial sector activities, reducing systemic risk, and creating new growth opportunities for local business. Okay, this factor shed light on the underlying issue that contribute to the Malaysian financial crisis and influence the recovery process, addressing poor governance practices, policy concerns, and the need for economic reforms were crucial aspects in navigating the aftermath of the crisis and fostering sustainable growth in Malaysia. Okay, then we move up to the consequences. First consequences is economic downturn. The financial crisis led to a significant economic downturn in Malaysia, with the economy contracting by 6.7% in 1988. This marked the first recession experienced by the country since 1985, and the severity of the downturn was noted to be worse than previous economic challenges. Okay, the recession resulted in business closures, high employment rate, and increasing inflation level, highlighting the profound impact of the crisis on the real sector of the economy. Okay, then the next point is policy response and recovery effort. In response to the crisis, the Malaysian government implemented various policy measures to mitigate its effect and facilitate recovery. These measures include fiscal adjustment, monetary policies, and structural reforms aimed at addressing the root causes of the crisis. The document discusses the success and failure of different strategies employed by the Malaysian government in navigating the crisis and highlight the challenges faced in ensuring sustained recovery in the aftermath of the downturn. Okay, for the last one, consequences is need for sustainable growth. The crisis underscored the importance of sustainable economic growth over rapid but unsustainable expansion. The document emphasized the shift towards total factor productivity as a key driver of future growth, focusing on quality and durability rather than sheer GDP growth rate. Okay. Reforms in various sectors, including ownership rule, investment liberalization, banking sector regulation, and capital market improvement were identified as crucial for building a more resilient economic foundation and assuring sustainable growth in the long term. These consequences highlight the profound impact of the financial crisis on Malaysia's economy, the policy response undertaken to address the crisis, and the imperative for sustainable growth strategies to navigate the challenges posed by the crisis and foster long-term economic stability and prosperity. Okay, for the conclusion, the lesson that we can learn is the Malaysian financial crisis served as a significant learning experience for the government and policymakers. It highlighted the importance of maintaining good macroeconomic management and the need for coherent and consistent policy making to sustain investor confidence and economic stability. The article emphasized the critical role of government policy response in shaping the economic outcome post-crisis and underscored the need for a nuanced understanding of the impact of policy decision on the economy. Okay, for the importance of economic reform. Major economic reform were deemed essential to address the root causes of the crisis and pave the way for sustainable recovery. Reforms in areas such as governance practices, investment liberalization, and technological infrastructure were identified as key drivers for future growth and resilience. The conclusion highlight the significance of crafting policies and education, human resource development and technology to enhance Malaysia industrial sector and reduce dependencies on migrant labour, thereby fostering sustainable economic development. Challenges and prospect. While the Malaysia economy shows signs of recovery post-crisis, challenges remain on the road of sustained growth. The document, which is the article, points to the need for continued effort to address systemic weakness, promote total factor productivity and ensure a balanced and sustainable economic trajectory. The conclusion underscores the importance of navigating the challenges posed by the crisis through strategic reform, sound policy decision, and a focus on long-term growth objective to secure Malaysia's economic future. In essence, the conclusion of the article is emphasize the lesson learned from the Malaysia financial crisis, the imperative for economic reform, and the ongoing challenges and prospect for Malaysia recovery and sustained growth. It underscores the critical role of policy, response, governance practices, and strategic planning in shaping Malaysia's economic trajectory in the aftermath of the crisis. Okay, and the last one, we move up to the recommendation. Okay, for the first recommendation is emphasize on governance and policy coherence. Strengthening governance institutions at both the firm and national level crucial for long-term economic sustainability. The document, which is the article, underscore the importance of coherence and consistency in policy making to maintain investor confidence and mitigate uncertainties. Implementing reform in areas such as ownership rules, investment liberalization, banking sector regulation, and corporate governance practices is essential to enhance supply side efficiency gains and reduce systemic risk in the economy. Okay, and the second one is focus on total factor productivity. Shifting toward total factor productivity as a key source of growth is recommended for Malaysia's economic future. While GDP growth may be lower, the emphasis on higher quality and more durable growth can lead to sustainable economic development. Investing in education, human resource development, and technology policies is essential to upgrade Malaysia's industrial sector, expand market opportunities, and reduce reliance on migrant labour, thereby fostering higher value-added industry. Okay, for the last one, for the last consequences that I have highlighted in the article is long-term strategic planning. Strategic planning that focus on long-term growth objective and sustainable development is essential for Malaysia's economic recovery and future prosperity. The document highlight the need for a comprehensive approach to economic reform and policy decision to navigate challenges and secure sustained growth. By implementing this recommendation and prioritizing governance, policy coherence, total factor productivity, and ongoing economic reform, Malaysia can strengthen its economic resilience, attract investment, and foster sustainable growth in the aftermath in the financial crisis. Okay, after that, that's all from me. I hope that you understand what I'm trying to deliver about my presentation. Anyway, thank you. Assalamualaikum.